Welcome to another episode of the No Ceilings Podcast. I'm Tyler Metcalf, joined as always by Tyler Rucker. Rucker, how are we doing?
Fantastic. Just fantastic. It's been a week. No, I'm kidding, folks. I'm not going to be the Grinch here. Happy holidays. It's been awesome. Feels good. It was funny, like having Christmas yesterday and then being like waking up today. I was like, oh gosh, I got the pod tonight. Like, just kind of, it's weird with Christmas in the middle of the holidays.
It's the worst. I hate it. And we got New Year's on a Wednesday too next week. It's just
bad. I'm terrible with this. So the next year, does it go a day back or a day forward?
Like, I have no idea. That's Future Me's problem. I barely have my next 2 weeks scheduled out, and you're asking me what day holidays fall on in the future.
I would love to let everybody know that next year it's on a Thursday. Christmas when in 2 years and Christmas is on a Friday. Electric.
The dream.
Also next year, just hoping that I don't have a big boy job anymore and that I'm taking that off, or I'm just doing basketball all day for No Ceilings. But you can dream. I'm good, Beck. I'm doing good, Metcalf. How about you?
Nailed that. I'm fantastic. I absolutely love Christmas. Had a great day yesterday with the family. Delicious food. Good presents, great company, fantastic drinks. You know, what's to complain about? And we had a really good slate of NBA games. NFL, get off of Christmas. Figure your shit out. Get out of here. A Wednesday games?
I forgot that there was football games.
I didn't watch a second of it. I was like, I checked the scores a couple times. I was like, these games look awful.
I just had no interest. That's like what people don't realize. It's like, yeah, cool. Your NFL is going to try to like make that their thing too. But like, it's part of me. Like I wake up on Christmas morning and now I'm like, basketball is going to be on at some point during the day. Like I can turn on a game and there's no game on. That's what's so great about the basketball schedule. It's like, you could have your holiday, your dinners, your whatever at any time. And there's going to be a game when you have some availability. Like it's fantastic. So
it's the best.
I don't need NFL. I had no interest. And I watch like every football game all the time, but like I was like, I don't have interest of the NFL right now. I love to watch basketball, so that's why we're here.
Well, we got a fun one today. This is another little holiday themed episode that we've been doing for the last basically since we started this podcast, the last 4 or 5 years. Stocking stuffers. I always enjoy this one because, with Christmas and presents, the big main presents are the ones under the tree. It's what everyone's eyes immediately go to. It's what gets talked about. Like, oh my God, what's in the giant box for Timmy? But the stocking stuffers and what's in the extra candy, the extra little trinkets and toys and stuff that is in the stockings raises the floor of the Christmas experience. Just adds to the overall enjoyment, and sometimes you get some real gems in those stockings. So that's kind of the theme of today's episode. We're just going to kind of run through some of our favorite quote unquote sleepers, at least at this point, guys who could maybe come draft time rise substantially, or a couple years down the line make a redraft for this year's draft look all the more intriguing because they've really popped and found their stride and kind of hit the ground running.
I have to admit that when we kind of decided, because Christmas, we kind of decided about the episode theme, and I was like, oh, stocking stuffers. We always do this. And I try to remember like the diagnosis. So I listened to last year's like intro. Your intro now compared to last year is just night and day better. And last year's was good, but you've got more heat, more pumped up. It's great. But it is
getting those game reps.
Spend some time in the G, and now you're up on the big format. I think this is a fun one because it really does shine light on like, hey, think big picture here. Like we always everyone likes to talk about the big names in the top 10 or in the lottery, but there's value everywhere in the draft, and it's why we do No Ceilings is because we want to shine light on the guys that are going to get drafted all over the place. And I think this is a good episode to do that. And also remind yourself for the fans listening out there, for anyone jumping in on the draft late, like there is going to be talent. There's some fun pieces all over. Like there's a guy on my board that we're going to talk about tonight that talking with Metcalf before the episode recorded, I was like, what the hell am I doing with him not higher? Like I just talked myself into moving him up 10 more spots. So it's going to be a fun one.
All right. Well, I guess we should just dive in, get started. And just for clarification, if we did this a week or maybe 2 ago, Jeremiah Fears would have been the first name that I sprinted to the podium with.
I love that we have to just bring it up.
That ship has sailed.
We haven't even like talked about him before we hit record, and I love we just had to sneak him in. I mean, we did a little bit because we were like, oh gosh, it's so good. I just told Metcalf before we recorded that I caught up on all the film, and holy crap, it matches the hype train.
Folks.
Woo, it's fun. So yeah, go ahead.
Well, someone else who has a rapidly building hype train, the big man, the center from Georgetown, freshman Thomas Sorber, not an unknown by any means. Solid, relatively high recruit, analytics darling. There's a contingent on draft Twitter who absolutely adores him. And I was really skeptical kind of at the beginning of the year because their strength of schedule could not have been easier. And he was dominating as he should have been, but as I was in a big time kind of wait and see mode, just let's get into conference play a little bit. Can he play another Power 5 conference? And let's see how it goes. And game by game, I just kind of keep being more and more impressed with him. If the production kind of continues the way it is, if the steps in the right directions in terms of doing the little things on both ends of the floor continues to improve game over game, like we're seeing, the effort, the work rate, all of that kind of stuff just incrementally improves throughout the season. In a draft like this one, where the bigs are, let's say, questionable, it wouldn't shock me if he has just a meteoric rise as the season progresses.
Probably the one I'm struggling with the most because it's not that the talent's not there. It's how quick is this going to happen? And I'm more talking about like the development. I'm a big skeptic of like, I don't want you to rush too fast. Some guys are ready. Some guys are ready to understand that they're not ready and take that leap and still be patient and still have confidence. That's fine. But there's nothing worse than when you're not ready. You jump into the NBA and then you're just drinking out of a fire hose, like your first couple of years. I'm very intrigued. It's funny because you look back at, we've got a big board update coming up at noceilingsnba.com. Very, very exciting. You look back at our second one, Metcalf, and wasn't even there because he started cooking right after it. It's always the dangerous time in the beginning of the year. That's why I say everyone calm down because starts cooking right after, and they're like, oh, the YouTube army is gonna hate us because they're gonna be like, what about Sorber? He's been great. And I'm like, this is from 2 weeks ago. Yes, if things can change that fast. And then we had a mock, I think, the next week, and somehow still projected him to go 30th. So that tells you about big boards. I am very intrigued. It's been fun to hear those ceilings, like the group chat. Someone brought him up lately. There was a lot of good conversation around Sorber. Like people, I like him a lot. I don't know if he's right now, and I just am very wait and see mode. So, like, I mean, what has got you buying in more and more? I feel like me and you kind of see eye to eye on big sometimes, and I just don't know if I'm like, is it there yet? Is it? Please, can I get one more year and really start dreaming about the leap, or am I just Scrooge?
So I think his combination of footwork and physicality on both ends have been really, really fun. Like he's really light on his feet, and ideally, you'd like to see him even slim down a little bit. And the physicality that he plays with is really impressive because it's not just like throwing his body around and kind of being reckless. It's calculated and it's competitive and it's measured. So the fact that he's kind of playing like that and battling with guys, sometimes mixed results, I think is really, really encouraging. And then on offense, just the variety of skills with his handle, some of the passing flashes, the ability to knock down a whole bunch of different stuff in the post from the elbows, some mid-range jumpers. The outside shooting percentage isn't where it needs to be, but I think I buy the shot long term. I think he's got good touch. So from an offensive standpoint, I don't know like what's really there to have a major complaint about. And defensively, I just keep seeing him get a little bit better every single game. Where like his verticality's gotten better. He's not like a huge ground coverage guy. They really kind of plant him in the paint and put him in like a deep drop or pretty minimal responsibility if they go zone or something. And they try and keep him in the paint as much as possible, which is an issue. It'd be great if he was sprinting all over the place. But when he does make those kind of small rotations, he's where he needs to be. He's strong enough to really throw off the shooter. And he's doing a really, really good job of staying vertical. And then you look at his defensive playmaking numbers, and they're all really good. So if he can play with that physicality and footwork with those defensive playmaking numbers, then some of the defensive lapses, especially at this stage in his career, I'm a little more willing to forgive because we're seeing so much other production and improvement in other areas.
He seems like he's got everything working in his favor. Like, listed at 6'10", 255. He does not move like he's 255. No. If he's an actual 6'10", heck yes. I'm like, I would buy it. I'm just saying, like,
if he checks out, I mean,
yeah, he looks big.
Because Kalkbrenner is like listed at like what, 7'1", 7'2"?
7'2", I think.
And I just watched their game this afternoon, and like there's a height difference, obviously, but it wasn't like this is a guy who's like 6'8".
Yeah,
I
right.
didn't get that vibe at all.
No, he's a big boy. I think he battles, they're playing against Syracuse. He's battling with Eddie Lampkin, who's not a thin man. So, I mean, I'm a fan of the tools. I like the upside. I think I just want some more consistency. I think this is a conference play guy for me. Just like, hey, let me see what you can do for a little bit. But I'm intrigued. I still got him, I think, in my top 30. Like, I like him, but I'm top 30. Like, when you're getting towards the end of that, at this time of the year, I'm like, you're either in or out. Like, I'm either buying, you're moving up or whatnot. So I just want to see how can he make that statement? Can he make that march now upwards? And I think you bring up a good point where you get to a class like this, other classes, some positions, like if you can make a loud statement because of everybody else, because of there's some questions, and it's usually the big man position. I think there's a lot of bigs that coming into the year we were excited about that kind of disappointed and just looked like, maybe not as high as we thought. And then all of a sudden Sorber's crashing the party. So
which
we love it.
Brings me to America's favorite game show, This or That.
Go ahead.
Derek Queen or Thomas Sorber?
Stop it.
No, this is to highlight where the big class is right now. Sorber or Malawach?
Oh, Billy. How angry do you want me to get people? I'd probably take Sorber right now. I would.
I have Sorber.
I just haven't seen it, folks. I just haven't seen it. And I like Malawach. I like him, but you're talking like I get 6'2", 250 with perimeter skills and good hands, good feet, and potentially, some offensive. Sorber has at least, and I haven't watched the full dive, but I've at least seen some offensive stuff.
Yeah,
from Sorber.
He's very skilled.
Malawach is a lengthy, alien-like presence around the basket. I haven't seen anything else. Like a great lob threat, great pick and roll. If you're drafting him to be that, yeah, sure. But right now, Sorber. Sorry.
Okay, so now we're done with bigs that I have in my top 40. Sorber or Danny Wolf?
How spicy is my team right now? I like Danny Wolf. No, I take Sorber.
Sorber or Janiyah Broome. Like, then we get into the Tomislav Ivicic, Kalkbrenner, Big Z, Izan Almansa, Roka Zakarski. Like,
it gets ugly fast.
Really, really thin class.
And
in terms of centers.
And so it doesn't. It's not ugly. It's project. You jump from like, hey, I'm trying to get value in the second round, or I'm trying to get like a project to groom for a while. Like people are gonna be like Zakarski, and I'm like, man, you're trying to get a project right now. Zakarski, give me another year, please. Like just one more year.
And that's not to say that Sorber is like a ready-made NBA guy right now, but if you're looking at all these guys as projects and you have one with that offensive skill foundation and footwork and physicality and motor to begin with. I don't know.
And
that intrigues me way, way more than just pure theoretical.
Good intel with Sorber. He'll cook. Yeah. He will cook upwards. Like, it's probably going to be, that now saying it out loud, that'll be one of the top guys I will ask about. If he could get some Sorber love around the league, would be interesting to find out. I have my times of the years when I start digging in. Would you guess it's going to be positive or negative? Like, let me take that back. It's not going to be negative. Let me take that back. I'm sorry. Would you guess it's going to be like, oh, we're in love, or it's going to be like, oh, he's nice? I hate that it's nice because you don't know if that means I really like him and I don't want to tell you.
It depends how the rest of the conversation is going. If they're like, oh man, this guy's fun, like, oh, it's like, like this guy just can't make a shot. I think he needs another year. And it's like, oh, what about Sorber? Yeah.
We've told story. Like, I have had text combos go complete dead when I bring up a name, and that tells me just everything. And it's like, oh, we've been talking nonstop, and then you hear one name, cut off. Like, oh, okay, guess I hit a nerve. Like, I like him. Yeah. I'm there. So
okay. I think it's a really interesting thing to keep an eye on, especially with this big class, because there are going to be more than one or two centers that go in the first round. I think it's going to be fascinating to see who that like surefire third, fourth one is that leaps in there. So let's take our first break and then we'll move on with your first stocking stuffer. Okay, Rucker, who do you have first on your list?
I think everyone kind of is intrigued with this one. I'm trying to think of the right way to say this. I really, really like him. Like, I feel like I'm getting prepared to take that next leap. And maybe people are thinking this is more of a depth piece. So maybe I'm cheating on this one with the stocking stuffers. But I feel like he's still a little bit of a sleeper because I think he should get some more love. I'm putting Rasheer Fleming on the list.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. He's been checking boxes left and right for me this year. He's been taking over games in different areas. 3-point shot, rebounding. I think he's had a 20-point rebound game this year. I think he's had like 3 15-plus rebound games, if I'm right. I think he just checks all the boxes, Metcalf. I think he does a lot of stuff that's really good, and he's a big dude. He's like, when I saw him in the beginning of the year in person, I was like, this is a grown man. I thought he was like a senior at first, and then I was like, oh, Rasheer Fleming. I was like, fuck. Jeez, like young. He's a young junior, I believe. Yes, I always think he's a sophomore, and I'm like, no, he's a junior, but he's young. I think NBA teams are going to love him. I think he's a winning player. I think he's tough as nails. He's built like a brick shit house. And if he shoots it around 40%, I think Rasheer Fleming is just going to be a guy that plays at the league for a long time. So I feel like he's a little bit of a sleeper because maybe we should be like, hey, we should like him even more. Maybe he is that redraft guy.
I think that's kind of what it is. Because like he's been on radars since his freshman year. Because whenever you see a guy that athletic, that big at an A10 school like St. Joseph's, it's like, oh, this looks different. One of these things on the court is not like the others.
Right, 100%.
And then you get some of the flashes, and it's like, holy shit. And it's like, could this guy be like a sneaky one and done? And then it's like, no, you went back for a sophomore year, and it was a lot more of the same, whereas like flashes of like, holy shit. But we hadn't gotten that sustained dominance, that sustained production, that sustained impact on both ends of the floor until this year. And that's exactly what he's been. He's just been consistently good, regardless of competition level, who they're playing. They've had some big games against some big time programs, and he's showed out and continued to play well. And the fact that he's playing that consistently, I think, is more of a testament to him not just being a this year guy, but like we sure he's not like top 30, top 25 guy, and like we want to give this guy a guaranteed contract and continue to build on those tools. So just to run through some absurd numbers, because if you're looking on Bartorvik, it's a whole lot of green. If you're looking on Synergy, it's a whole lot of excellent. Effective field goal rate of 64, true shooting percentage of 65, offensive rebounding rate of 8.5, defensive rebounding rate of 23.5, block rate of 5.4, steal rate of 3.4, and shooting 39.6% on just over 8 3-point attempts per 100 possessions. When we go to our friends over at Synergy, doing the Lord's work, in all possessions, he's in the 93rd percentile in scoring, spot up just 50th, but transition 84th, pick and roll as a roller, 73rd, 99th on cuts, 98th on post-ups, 85th percentile on all jumpers, 73rd percentile shooting off the catch, 62nd percentile shooting off the bounce. Those are incredible numbers for someone who's had so many questions and hesitations and even potentially red flags surrounding his shot and just kind of offensive game.
Numbers have gotten better every year. I'm a sucker for guys that you see their numbers each year at college and they're just climbing. They're just skyrocketing. He 42% as a freshman, 52% from the field as a sophomore, 56 this year, 3-point percentage just jumping up the same, scoring numbers jumping up the same. Anytime your attempts are skyrocketing and your percentages are also climbing with it, that is very, I love that. And he rebounds. He's tough as nails. I bring it up all the time. I watched him for like a week at that Dame Lillard camp last offseason. He was going toe-to-toe with Asa Newell. And it was more because like they were playing different like 4-on-4 teams and like he just drew like I have to be the big. I'm 6'9", and I'm going up against centers and stuff. And Kenyon Catchings was at that. There was a lot of great talent at that, but I left that whole event like, Rasheer Fleming circled on my list heading into the year. Like I absolutely love him, and had an NBA scout there tell me like if he shoots it, he's been on our radar, but if he shoots it, we're going to be very excited. So a lot of teams like him. I think a lot of teams, Jonathan Wasserman had a good tweet about Fleming this year. He said this, the name every team wants to be kept quiet, like, cause everyone likes him and you don't want everybody else getting around to him. And he just plays a good amount of roles on the court. And I'm a very, very big fan. So I think I have him at 20. Feel great about it.
Ooh, that high.
I love him.
I'm not far behind. I'm
28. You know why Metcalf is because if I drafted Rasheer Fleming at 20, pretty pumped about it. Yeah. If I got him in the 20s, I'd be pumped. And I think my problem is I keep looking at names ahead of him. I'd be like, would I like Rasheer Fleming instead? Like it's more just my big board is like, hey, I'm going off of like if I was a GM and I'm on the clock around 20 and Rasheer Fleming's there, like be very intrigued. It's just, this is a player you need, a two-way tough player with floor spacing and a physical profile. Those guys stick a long time, and make a lot of money. So I don't know, just one of those that I'm puzzling right now, but this is a stocking stuffer for me.
It wouldn't shock me if come draft night, he's just one of these guys where it's like, oh, with the 22nd pick, the Miami Heat are taking Rasheer Fleming. But it's like,
they always do.
Just goes to exactly. But and he has that the athleticism, the size, and the strength where you can kind of play him at the 3, 4, or 5 given certain matchups. He's played some center in college. Obviously, you don't want to be running him out there as your full-time 5, but the athleticism, the strength, the rebounding, the defensive playmaking, it's all screams like, all right, this is a guy who we can just kind of throw out in any sort of lineup on the defensive end and be okay with it. But the question was always, but how drastically is he going to kill our offense? That doesn't look like the case anymore. And if he can mix in, just being an awesome corner 3-point shooter or some pick and pop stuff, and then crashing the offensive glass, getting out in transition and just getting those easy buckets. It's just kind of the glue guy where it's like your 7th man in a rotation and he ends up in the league for a decade on really good teams because he does all the dirty shit and then is an efficient play finisher. He's been just really, really fun.
I mean, let's do this or that.
Love it.
Because everyone loves it. Would you take Darrion or Rasheer Fleming?
Oh, Fleming. I like Darrion, but I don't.
Alex Caravan or Rasheer Fleming?
Caravan by spot.
Ooh. See, if you asked me earlier in the year, I'd probably say Caravan. Now I think it might be Fleming for me.
Okay.
But that answer could change depending on the team I have. Do I need a smarter playmaking high field guy? Or do I just want tough as nails?
Yeah.
Might get that for both of those guys. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It's just, I'm trying to think of another one for you. Because if I say like Carter Bryant, then I feel like you're going to be like, ooh, I don't know. It's tough. Catchings, Carter Bryant, I'm probably like, I might be betting on the upside.
Yeah,
how many picks do I have in the first?
Carter, given the age, and shout out Joey Barrett. He had a little thread going on Twitter the other day of how good Bryant's been when he's been on the floor. It's like when numbers match the tape, that's always fun.
When he's been on the floor,
yeah.
I got nothing.
You're going through it.
I'm going through.
Let's move on. Next up, 6'7" wing. Not sure he's 6'7", but he's listed at 6'7" from San Diego State. Sophomore guard, Miles Byrd. I absolutely adore this guy's game. He is
Birdman.
So much goddamn fun.
I haven't watched the game yet. So yeah, I'm going off box scores, but Andrei Stojakovic was on a heater, and then he was heating up in the draft scene, and then all of a sudden paid a visit to the Birdman, and Andre had a tough game. So I'm excited to watch that. I wonder if it was really
a good game. It was.
Oh, you watched it?
Fun. Yeah. I suppose I could pull up my notes.
Did Miles give him some business? He's fun, man. Is he Tayshaun Prince? Not that level of defender, but you get my point.
About the guy with the greatest trace down block in NBA history. So
it's still my favorite play. Not a Celtics related play, but it's still one of my favorite plays ever.
No, I don't think he's quite that big. I don't trust his defense quite enough. Like he's a little too jumpy.
Yeah, he doesn't have the seasoned feel of Tayshaun. Looked like he knew what you wanted to do before he even tried it.
Yeah, he was insane.
So awesome.
But yeah, and like Andre, like in that game specifically, just really struggled to kind of create on ball. The shot really hasn't been falling for him all year, which is tough. But like his handle is solid. He was really good kind of creating off ball, but as that on ball creator, he struggled to separate a lot. And a lot of that was because of Byrd's defense. So
I'm a fan. I think he's getting into this first round right now. It seems like it's there. The 20 to 30 range has really, I feel like that's the part of my board, and that's the part of every mock draft we've done right now where we're like, who? Like, give me some names. Like, someone throw someone out. And I feel like that's the territory where if you're like heating up, you're checking the boxes, you start getting like, hey, Miles Byrd, not a bad idea here around like 28. And then you start going like, why wouldn't he just be around, mid 20s to 30? Like, then you start going like, well, maybe early second round. You're like, I'd probably take him in the first if I had a couple picks. Playoff team. He checks boxes, Metcalf.
So many of them. And, one of the issues is that he hasn't been like incredibly efficient as a scorer. But then you look at the volume and he's over 11 3-point attempts per 100 possessions at just under 39%. And that's one of those ones I remember when Mathurin was coming out of the draft and he was at like 37, 38%. And it's like, on the surface, that's just kind of an okay number. But then you look at the difficulty and the shot attempts and the movement stuff and how heavily contested it is. It's like, oh, that 38% is not everyone's 38%. That's more, if you only had him spotting up or in the corner or taking standstill stuff, it's probably up around 43%. Byrd isn't going to be like a pseudo point guard or like a on-ball creator, but the way that he runs off screens and uses that shooting gravity to be more of that off-ball creator, that second side creator, someone who you can run off of, pin downs and all that kind of stuff, get to the middle of the floor and trust him to make a whole bunch of different plays. it's been really, really, really fun. So, you were talking about like when you get into that range and, I'm looking at guys like a Carter Bryant, who I really like, and Ian Jackson, who's been super streaky, a Will Riley, where when the shot's falling, he looks awesome. And I like how hard he's been playing on both ends. But a lot of the time, I also leave the game going like,
where do you have Will?
What was there? 28.
Gosh dang it. Still had him high. Our boards are coming up soon. I'm still a little like, I don't know what to do. Sorry, but I get it.
I like Will long term, maybe, but he's also shooting 50% at the rim in the half court. That's the number I don't love for a guy who's 6'8",
140 pounds.
And then you could look at a guy like Miles Byrd and how much he's improved, and the level of responsibility and the effectiveness and the versatility in his game on both ends of the floor. It's really, really tough. And it's like, am I really going to take this sophomore from San Diego State? It's like, yeah,
why not?
Take the guy who's really fucking good and taken a huge leap over the past year and does a little bit of everything and is a key piece to one of the tougher teams in the country.
Do you know why Byrd is so good and why we like him? He's comfortable knowing his strengths.
Oh, yeah.
I am a sucker for those guys. The guys just get it. They're like, this is what I can do. This is another place that I get my stuff. He's got that little 3-point shot where he's comfortable if you're on him and he's 3 feet or 4 feet beyond the arc. He'll just pull it. Like, that's his shot. And he knows how to create his stuff without having all this advanced weaponry. Like, he just knows how to pick his spots. And you add the defense, you add a lot of the places he checks, is like, it's pretty easy to tell when a guy's like, hey, I know my role. I know how to get my strengths. I know how to force it. Like, I'm a big fan. I think you're cooking there. I think everyone's cooking a little bit on Miles Byrd right now. I think everyone's a little bit like, hey, wait a second. That's why we love the big boards coming out, because I'm like, it's movement time. You're making your move. You're really proving that you're worth it. And he's, I got him at 31. I am very excited to get the big boards out because I'm looking at his name, looking at a couple guys, and I'm like, why not move him up? Why not move him up? Like,
that's exactly where I'm at. Yeah. It's like, I think I have him at 31 exactly too. It's like, I just rattled off like 5 names that I think I would probably take him over. But just to kind of go back to just like the shooting. I mean, 60 or 72nd percentile overall on jumpers, 63rd shooting off the catch, 81st off the bounce. And I know initially it's like, oh, okay, maybe there's more on ball juice, but it's like, he's not that type of athlete where he's explosive and can create his own stuff. But when you introduce a screen, whether on ball or off ball, his efficiency and production just skyrockets. As the pick and roll ball handler, 97th percentile in scoring, on handoffs, 81st percentile. And when we look at the pick and roll, including his passes, he's in the 95th percentile. Sometimes guys are just good. And, if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, sounds like a duck,
then it's a squirrel. I think the passing stuff also gets me excited. He just seems like he knows how to play.
Yeah.
Those guys are ones that I think when you find guys like that where you're just like, why do I not like him more? And then you watch again and you feel the same way. It's just like, stop overthinking. Just like move him. Like, you like him, move him up. Like, it's pretty easy. If you strike out on those guys, at least you're like, hey, I was trusting my eyes. I liked everything I saw. And those are the guys we overthink. And we were like, oh, I don't know. San Diego State. Why? And then all of a sudden we're like, he worked out and played good. And you're like, why did I do it? Like, I liked him. And it's just like, just go with your gut sometime. But I'm not saying it's bad to overthink those guys, but I find if you quickly check a ton of my boxes when I'm evaluating you, I'm like, there's something here. Yep. Now I just need to figure out how
scoring,
high.
Passing, defensive playmaking. He gets a little bit jumpy on defense, but he's got awesome hands and good feet. So it's like, in time, you can coach that out. Those are
the guys too. You draft early, or you get them in the first round. People are like, you went for Miles Byrd. You better have results right away. And it's like, oh, come on, gosh, dang it, just calm down. So I think that's the NFL version of drafting a quarterback in the first round. Like you just want that extra year of like, let's be patient and everything. I love Miles Byrd. I wouldn't be shocked if he keeps climbing. Wouldn't be shocked if he's a rookie contributor. Like he just plays at a high level.
Okay, let's take our last ad break, and then we will wrap up with the rest of our guys. Okay, Rucker. Your last one was Rasheer Fleming. Who is your next stocking stuffer?
I talked about this earlier. I kind of hinted at it. Every time I kind of talked about it before the show started. And just got the hey, your battery's about to die warning on my laptop, which is always great. And I don't know because it's plugged in, so this is gonna be fun. Maxime Raynaud from Stanford. Numbers freakish, shot freakish, size freakish.
Yeah.
Why don't I like him more? That's the name I keep looking at my board, and I'm like, I moved you up. Why don't I keep moving you up? You check everything. Your film's awesome. So take it over so I can make sure I don't die.
Yeah, I mean, this dude is massive and moves so much more fluidly than you would think based on first glance. Just some of the numbers, they're through the roof, especially for a guy at his position, at his size, at Stanford. Effective field goal rate of 56, offensive rebounding rate 12.7, defensive rebounding rate 27.2. Doesn't really turn the ball over. Block and steal rates both in a good range at 3.5 and 2.1 respectively. 38% from three on almost 8 attempts per 100 possessions. He's really tricky because he's a guy that, like, when you initially look at him, you're like, just kind of a clumsy, big, lumbering center. And then you watch him play for 2 minutes, and it's like, oh, there are some serious ball skills here. The way he moves his feet is really, really special. There's a sequence when they were playing Oregon the other week where he got the ball out on the left wing above the break, hit his defender with a jab step, faked a rip through, hit him with another jab step. So now he has a defender all over the place, throws up a shot fake, gets his defender to bite, and then he drives baseline and finishes with a dunk over the rotating defender. And now you have a guy who's 7'2", 260, doing that kind of stuff. It's like, what in the world is happening? And why is he not in my top 60? So he's been really tricky, and someone where it's like kind of common theme with all these guys where it's just like, at some point, why are we overthinking this?
He rocks. It's just incredible to watch him move like that. He does some stuff on the court. You're like, I would take that in the first round just off that move. Like at that size, there's some stuff that needs to get worked up. But there's also some numbers where you get to a point where like, okay, if you're doing this at that size and shooting it from deep.
Yeah.
At some point, I'm going to be like, hey, if it's going to work, it's going to work here. If I was a GM, and I'm not going to be the one that passes on this, especially if you have multiple picks. Like, he's probably an overdraft guy, but he's probably not, because you're probably looking at that and saying, we could use a 7-1 shooter. We could use a 7-1 floor spacer that can move. Like, I just am one of those names. I keep looking at it and I'm like, when you get to this point of the year, Metcalf, and you look at your board and you're just like, I just go, I do it this or that with like my ranking. I'm like, who would I prefer here? And I'm like, oh, move him up. If you keep moving one guy up, and you're like, what? Why do I have you down here? So I'm a fan. I'm looking at my board again, and I'm like, I just need to move you up more. So where do you have him?
Like 67.
Oh gosh, what the hell?
I don't like it. I don't like it, because I was just doing that same thing where it's like looking at the centers that I have listed ahead of him, and it's like Zakarsky, Almansa, Goat, Kalkbrenner, Ivisic, Janiyah Broom, and it's like,
here's my problem.
I don't know.
Beginning of the year or the last couple months, I've been thinking the same way. And you watch some tape and you're like, oh man, he's skilled. And then you go, I don't realize he's averaging almost 22 and 12.
Yeah.
And he's shooting 40. No, I'm sorry. He's shooting almost 40% from 3.
Yeah.
He's shooting 38%, 21.4 points, 11.8 rebounds, 1.1 blocks, 1.3 steals. Yes, older. But he's also shooting 38% as a 7'1", 250 center.
Yeah.
Forward. So
do they have him listed as a forward?
Forward.
Yeah, okay.
Forward. He just has a lot of games. It's big boy production on the boards, and he's one of those. He gets red hot from 3, and I'm a sucker for the production climbing. He shot 56% last year on 11 attempts per game. He's at 50% now on 16. It's a big jump. Last year, 36.1% on 1.9 threes. This year, 38% on 4.6. That's a huge jump. So also doubled almost the free throw attempts. So checking a lot of boxes that I like, that I'm like, hey, mid-second round, easy. Now I'm like, why not higher? 60. What is? Good Lord! Get on the film.
Settle down.
Get in the film room. Right. Watch some film in your life. Come on.
How dare you? My wife will call you and have a word, because she would.
Oh, gosh.
She would suggest that I need to get out of the film room.
Our wives would have a fantastic podcast episode. Like, how much film do your husbands?
Yeah, I think he's just, for me, he's just gonna be one of these guys that's like, game after game of his, it's just going to keep going up because he's been consistent. And it's not that I think he's going to be this all NBA decade long starter in the NBA or anything, but it's like a backup center.
Backup center that plays himself like you can't get him off the court now. Like, that's the role I'm getting. Like, hey, he's on the court.
Like, just 15 minutes, and they're good minutes. And I think that's kind of where he's at for me, because like there's some stuff on the defensive end that I'm not totally in love with, and you kind of have to scheme around that a little bit. But then on the offensive end, I think he unlocks a lot of unique stuff. And if the other team goes small, then okay, throw him in the post or let him just feast on the offensive boards or as a roller. And if they throw out a lumbering center, okay, now we have a pick and pop game going. So I just think there's a lot of fun stuff that you can use with him.
I'm sitting here right now and I'm going, you know what team could use him and would be really fun? The Spurs. Then I'm going, you know who I would absolutely love to take him? The Celtics. I feel like I'm about to rattle off 5 more teams that I'd be like, I really like him on that team.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm like, hey, he's going to average 20 and 12. Like, no, come on. But like the threat, the versatility, like how he can kind of do a little bit of everything as your rotation big early on. Maybe there is some more upside. You never know. Like, you don't find the 7'1", 40% from downtown guys often that also can rebound like a monster and has good feet. Like, he has some perimeter sequences of like taking guys off the bounce that are just like, what the hell was that? That was a shooting guard that did that. Nope, that's 7'1", 250 train rolling at you. Skilled, very skilled. And at some point, teams would be like, we don't, NBA, is he going to fit defensively? At some point, you're just taking a swing on what he brings to the table right away. So I like him. Sleeper.
Agreed. Okay, let's move on. My last one is 6'2" point guard from West Virginia. He has been hooping this year. Javon Small. He has been an absolute blast and one of my favorite things. Very takeaways in basically every West Virginia game I watch. I never watch them and don't feel his presence on the floor.
Okay, I need the car salesman pitch. I full disclaimer, hate the 50 to 60 range. I'm hanging on I'm looking off of a cliff right now, being like, who can take? I need to get someone excited in this range. I need someone. No one's moving me right now. There's a lot of guys in No Ceilings that are starting to buy stock on this one. Corey's had a lot of stock. I feel like you have had some stock. Somebody else has had some stock. I'm sorry, guys. I can't keep track. Sell me.
Really good on-ball defender, smart passer, takes care of the ball, finds the open guys, not like a big-time playmaker necessarily, but as like a backup point guard, really good on-ball defender. The way I kind of keep looking at him is like if you took like Jamal Shed and took away 10 to 15% of his defense and added it to the offensive end, that's kind of who Javon Small has been this year.
Okay, that player is going in the first round, so come on. He's 6'3",
right. So he's 6'2", or at least what I'm seeing. But the big thing with him, I mean, he's shooting it a ton from outside, up to 11 3-pointers per 100 possessions at 39% with a steal rate of 3.5 and an assist rate of 29.2 and a turnover rate under 17. I think it's tough because he's only 6'2", and that's what he's listed at. So maybe he's 6'1", 6 foot. But I think everything he's kind of done on the court, both film and numbers wise, just screams like this guy could be a really solid backup point guard for a long time.
I didn't want you to sell me right away to a backup point guard, but I also realized how important those guys are because you draft them as a backup. They all of a sudden
the Timberwolves would kill for a backup point guard, right?
You all of a sudden figure it out and you start becoming gosh dang it, who's my guy at the Pacers?
TJ McConnell?
No, well that
Andrew Nembhard, Ben Shepherd.
Thank you. Andrew Nembhard. I feel like I've been pestered with Ryan Nembhard questions this year of why don't you guys have him in the first round? So that's why
tiny
Nembhard. Yeah, I also got told the 6 foot listing is very favorable. So that's why
I like Nembhard. I thought he was a blast on that Montverde team too, coming out of high school. But he's like small.
I root for the little guys. Anytime you get like double-digit assist games, love you.
He'll play a long time in Europe or the NBL.
Make a lot of money in Europe.
He's going to have a very good pro career.
Very good year.
May not be.
I'm going to give him a shot. So yeah, these are fun numbers for 6'2". ESPN has him at 6'3". Okay. So
love it.
These are fun numbers.
6'4".
Yeah. Keep going up. Come on.
Why not?
He had you know what's amazing about him? He's had big games against good teams.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, and a handful of them came after Tucker got hurt. So it's like, okay, so the coach's kid, the quote unquote the guy, goes down, and Small continues to step up in a big way. So
Gonzaga, he had 31 in an overtime
it was so much fun in that game.
Arizona, what a shocker! He played great.
Well, you know they have some really tough point of attack defenders.
Yeah,
there.
Georgetown, big game. But like anytime I'm looking, okay, you had 4 steals against Louisville. You had 4 steals against Iona. You had a block and a steal against Arizona. You had 2 steals against Georgetown. Like I love that. I also love the blocks, the steals, like games. Okay, fine, I'm in. Don't even need to watch the film. I'm in. Yeah, it's been an intriguing guy. It's one of those where we always have names we throw around, and then you're like, okay, is it just the right now guy, or is it just this could be something? And the injuries are a big point. Like all of a sudden, someone goes down, and the role's kind of redefined, and you find out there's a little bit more pep in the step, or a little bit more juice to bring to the table. And I'm intrigued now. Now I got to go watch some film.
Yeah, and it come draft night, it would not shock me at all if he doesn't get drafted. But I would be absolutely floored if he doesn't play pro ball for a while and has at very least a cup of coffee in the NBA. So
it's hey, he doesn't get drafted, but he was a very quick 2-way sign.
Yeah.
Like those are those guys. You're like, hey, 2-way backup point guard. Like, absolutely. Anything else?
No. Who was your last one?
Forgot. I'm gonna look. Oh yeah, you know what? I'm gonna give a little love. You know what, Metcalf? Maybe I change it up. I told you. I don't know. I don't know. Thinking here.
Go with your heart.
No. I'll just go. because the problem is some names I want to mention are not really sleepers anymore. So
it's the worst when guys play well, So.
Yeah, it's kind of tough when the draft class looks like it's going to have a little bit more firepower than we were all expecting. That, and my 40 to 60 range stab me in the eyes. Like just brutal right now. I don't know what to do. I'm gonna go a little name that our own Rich Stamen, aka Mavs Draft, been pumping a little bit. Darrion Williams, Texas Tech. I'm intrigued. Now I started diving on some film last night. Not enough. Pretty late. Correction. That was 2 nights ago. I was up very, very late because I was like, awesome. Tomorrow's Christmas. I can just watch film and be ridiculous tonight. Then realized like at 2 a.m. I was like, oh gosh, my daughter's going to be up in like 3 hours. I need to go to bed. But right before then, I was watching Javon Williams film before I realized all that. And I'm very intrigued. Very skilled. Kind of gives me Dylan Jones vibes, but skinnier.
Okay.
Has some passes that are like on a dime, beautiful, very, very fun. The extremely skilled guy that I'm like, athleticism, are you there? Okay. You know what I mean? Is the athletic jump going to be fine, or are you just incredibly skilled? Like, are you Boris Diaw, or are you just a really damn good college player?
Hey, if it's San Antonio Spurs Boris Diaw, sign me up all day, every day. If it's Charlotte Hornets Boris Diaw, I'm running for the hills.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I just named like 2 guys that I'm like, the Spurs probably are taking both of these guys. It's just very like, oh, this is a fun talent. I'm mentioning him now because he is my stocking stuffer that I would be like, hey, maybe we're cooking a little bit more, going up a bit. There's some stuff there. Sleeper.
Yeah, signed 6'6" junior from Texas Tech. I'm a little behind on my Texas Tech film, and admittedly, when I have dove in, it's mostly been for JT Toppin.
Yep.
So it's always fun when you get extra prospects really kind of emerging. His numbers are bonkers right now.
They're really fun, and the film's kind of like, I know why you're really fun. Like, he's just very mature when he plays. He plays like he's a super senior. I think he's junior?
Junior, yeah.
Yeah.
So BPM of 12, effective field goal rate just under 56, true shooting at 61. Not much of a rebounder, but not bad. Assist rate at 31.7 and turnover rate under 15, with block and steal rates at 2.5 while shooting 37.5% from 3. Not bad. I'd love to see that 3-point percentage a little higher, but that also comes into nitpicking. So, and not fully understanding the context of his usage yet. But he is a name that has continued to bounce around, and Rich will not stop talking about him.
Well, he's been getting like a little, like, I feel like someone in our group's been flirting about him like a little bit. Like, I think Maxwell might have brought it up last year, and I feel like I got a little bit of like, oh yeah, I'm intrigued, and then I hadn't watched it, and I was like, oh, I remember this, and then like he was averaging 7.5 boards last year.
Yeah,
I also think that's just like, hey, JT Toppin came into the picture.
There's that too.
But he's been, there's some good numbers with less minutes this year right now, and these ones are always tough because you're like, are you this year guy? Like we were just talking about, like, are you a this year guy? Are you a right now? Or are we just trying to find something? And I still think like this is a guy now that's like, okay, probably gonna have you like my mid-second. But maybe now you're heating up again. It's always fun, like you said, to get another name with the team that has another prospect. I love when a team has 2 prospects. I'm like, yes, like 2 birds, 1 stone.
Well, when they get like 9, it's like, what are we doing? No, this is too much. No, but like to
every Duke game.
It's like when Duke and Kentucky would play. It's like, oh my god, this is a nightmare. It's like
it is a nightmare. You know what? I take that back. It might be better when there's just one. Because I kind of like
just a little quicker too.
And I can just focus on like what's going on. I don't know, but yeah, I'm intrigued.
But just to circle back to the rebounding real quick with Williams, I think a lot of that also comes into more of his usage and how he's been utilized in his role, where the last 2 years, the rebounding numbers were much better, but he was also playing more off ball, more as like that kind of wing forward guard hybrid, which allowed him to be closer to the rim and crash from the weak side and all that kind of stuff. And this year it's more of a point guard role, where over the last 3 years, his usage has gone from 15.4 to 17.6 to 28.6. So yeah, it'd be great if the rebounding numbers were a little higher, but that's where context kind of comes back into play of like, okay, is he ever in position to grab a ton of rebounds? And if no, then okay, how does he rebound when he's actually around the ball? So just something to keep an eye on.
Did you have a third?
I already went through.
You already went through
all three.
Any names you didn't get to?
Oh boy, there are a billion names.
Or any names you're like, hey, I like you, but not enough to give you some airtime.
RJ Lewis from St. John's.
I feel like I need to buy back.
I really like him. PJ Haggerty with Memphis has been really fun. He is so goddamn shifty and gets downhill just effortlessly. Mugun Gawath, continue to be intrigued, not totally convinced he's a this year guy, but man, his flashes are a blast. Seth Trimble.
I watched Miles Byrd and Mugun pop. Fresno State, San Diego State might be one of my most fun games I've watched this year.
That was
it's just a big dude cooking that you're like, oh gosh, everyone just enjoy the show.
Yeah.
Those are. I don't know what to do with Eric Dixon. I need to watch.
Yeah.
Before I start diving in on like that, I'm in on the senior train. Let's pump. Let's go wild. Ivizic from Illinois, I need to watch.
He's been solid.
I've got a lot of guys I need to watch right before our boards are due. Have you watched Tugler yet?
A little bit. Not enough to give a
okay. Do that one off air.
A firm scouting report on.
Do that one off air.
Well, if that's all we got in terms of our sleepers, that means it's Green Room.
I knew it. I knew it.
Welcome to the No Ceilings Green Room, the most exclusive club in the basketball world. No more than 14 prospects get in. Only one gets admitted a week. Guys have to wait in line. You can be booted. It is not our lottery rankings. Rankings and talent and production come into play, but it's also highly vibe based. And I almost said it. I'm not going.
No, you can't do it. We can't make that joke every time. Can't do it. I almost tagged you in a post that said it soon, and then I was like, no one will get the joke, which might make it funnier for the future. So maybe I'll do it. Currently, give me it.
Currently in the green room, we have Cooper Flagg, Trey Johnson, Derek Queen, Dylan Harper, and Jeremiah Fears. Any of them getting booted?
No.
Agreed. In line, we have Yegor Demon, Asa Newell, LeBaron Philon, and Kasparis Yakushonis. Who are you nominating to be in line?
I'm going to nominate.
This is tough. I'm struggling with my nomination.
Is Boogie in line?
He's not.
I'm going to nominate Boogie Fland.
Okay.
One phenomenal name. Phenomenal name that, I mean, the name alone could get him in. The name alone gets him in line. He's playing great. I think he just had a double-double with assists the other day. He's doing everything I want him to do this year, Metcalf. Like I'm doing the highlight videos for our YouTube channel. I've got
you are.
Fears. Yeah, everyone go check that out. I'm cooking them. I'm about to pump out about 5 straight, so everyone's gonna be freaking out. I've had 4 done. I've got Fears is gonna be done in like 20 minutes after this podcast is done recording. Just got to do the defensive section, which is going to be very fun. And then Boogie is like third. My third one. I'm very pumped to watch the Boogie one because I guess edit the Boogie one because I know I'm going to start like, okay, I'm really in. Like, I love those because I get caught up on everyone's film, and I think I have them high. I feel like those videos. I have them in my lottery. Sorry, I don't have them high. I have them at 14.
Okay, 13.
I feel like I'm dancing with moving them up. The problem is I really love my lottery right now. Really, really like a lot of these guys, and then I've got a couple of guys knocking on the door. Usually I like doing these because it makes me watch the guys I haven't watched yet and get caught up, and then I'm like, ooh, down. But Boogie, I love.
Okay. I'm going to put, this is more of a
oh gosh,
preparing for what's hopefully to come. Because the vibes at the beginning of the year were rough. Over the summer they were incredible. But they're starting to trend back in the right direction. I'm gonna put VJ Edgecombe in line.
Yes. Where do you have him?
9.
Okay, remember, we're gonna probably tinker. We've got what, 48 hours before we gotta be finalized. I got him at 7. I'm back. I'm back. He's the next video I'm doing. So I'm very much back before I even break that down. But I think we're starting to see the player from summer.
Yeah.
January 4th, Iowa State, Baylor. It's a big one.
That'll be fun.
Big one.
Do his hands just like look massive?
They are.
Because like whenever, like on his follow through on his shot, it looks like a fucking oven mitt flapping over.
It's what I'm trying to tell you. Like in person, his body's kind of a freak. He doesn't like. I know if he measures at, let's say he measures at 6'3", he's kind of got that freakish body where you're like, oh, he might be 6'3" with like a 6'7" wingspan. You know what I'm trying to say? Like he looks like
5-inch vertical.
And then he might add 10, 15 pounds and be like, oh, but he's 6'3", 200 with the 6'7" wing and 43-inch vert. So you're like, how bad do I care that he's not 6'5"? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think he's going to check a lot of areas, and he plays. He's just a demon. I mean, we're also talking like fantastic potential defender. Like he can be a two-way monster. It's just, if he's really 6'5", I'm probably taking him top 6.
Yeah.
Like if he's a two-way, if he's a combo guard with that athletic pop and everything else, hell yeah. If he's 6'3" with a 6'4" wingspan, 180 pounds.
Okay, those aren't the vibes we need right now for the green room, Rucker. How dare you? Okay,
I'm too excited to talk about prospects. But here's my thing with VJ. VJ, electric name.
Yeah.
First and last name. We always need a guy with like an abbreviation in the front. He feels like a guy that gets along with everyone.
Yes, he does.
Yeah. VJ seems like also a guy that gets the line pumped to go in. Like you need a guy in line that's getting everyone hyped. So like, you know, if you're waiting for a while, you're like, no, man, this place is going to be sick. This is going to be a sick night. And VJ seems like that guy.
Okay, well, in line, we have Yegor Demon, Asa Newell, LeBaron Philon, Kasparis Yakashonis, Boogie Fland, VJ Edgecombe. I think it's a pretty easy one to get.
Yeah, I do too.
Casper.
Ace Bailey. Kasparis.
Ace is still at home getting ready. All right, Kasparis Yakashonis. Welcome to the green room. Joining Cooper Flagg, Trey Johnson, Derek Queen, Dylan Harper, Jeremiah Fierce.
I think Kasparis.
That's a really good 6.
I think Kasparis has scored 20 or more in the last 5 games.
He's so goddamn good.
I looked at it the other day and I was like, oh my gosh. He rocks.
He's just really, really good. And it sounds simplistic,
doesn't it?
But
It sounds simplistic, but it's like
sometimes
hey,
it is.
Sometimes it is, and can you just watch it? It's unbelievable. Like
it would be cool if his handle tightened up a little bit and he stopped getting stripped on like every other drive.
okay,
but he's shooting like 44% and making some just absurd playmaking reads and drawing 1 billion fouls a game. So I'll forgive him for a couple turnovers.
Last 6 games, he's averaging 21.8 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 1.2 steals, shooting 46, 48, 88. 4.5 turnovers. We're not going to focus on that. Don't look at that. Don't look at that. But Intel's been fantastic. Everything you hear is awesome. I just also love when you're like, oh yeah, and he's 6'6". I just keep reminding myself, yeah, he's 6'6" too.
Fucking strong.
Strong. There's like maybe like Chauncey Billups, maybe.
Oh, that's fun. He does feel a little more old school.
Mm-hmm. He's just got a little bit of
like a little Jalen Brunson. He's bigger than Brunson, but
he's a very good time machine. Like he's a good prospect that you're like, I don't want to compare him to anyone now. I want to compare him to older guy. Like,
yeah,
he's not J Kidd because he doesn't have that. Like, J Kidd could float around the court. Like especially with New Jersey, he was just like, he looked like a kid that got unleashed in a candy store and was just like immediately goes to play basketball. Like he just throwing dimes, jumping all over the place. I don't know. I get like, Brunson. I feel like we're getting to that territory of everyone's going to just be like Brunson. But it's like, no, there's
like it's not a great like 1-for-1, but like the physicality, the constant, the foul drawing, the scoring versatility, the way he's shooting it, the way he runs the pick and roll, that kind of stuff. I don't know. I don't have one that I love yet. Yeah, he's not that big.
He's an inch shorter. That's the problem, is we're thinking that, and he's like, well, he's 6'6". Cade's 6'7".
I'd be surprised if he measures at 6'6".
I would too.
Maybe in shoes, but
Pacers Mark Jackson.
I get more like 6'4.5" vibes, but doesn't matter because he's in the green room and he.
Who you're puzzled about it? Do you have a name?
No, I don't have.
Andre Miller.
Nah, Andre couldn't shoot.
Chauncey's
a fun one.
Chauncey's a good one.
Yeah, I might have to re-examine
like Pistons Chauncey probably, because these are the Celtics for like 24 hours. Shout out Rick Pitino. There's another name. I'll think of it. But yeah, Kasparis is just damn awesome. It's unreal.
All right. Well, that wraps up this episode. Thank you for tuning in, everyone in the chat, watching live over on YouTube. We go live over on YouTube for the vast majority, almost all of our episodes, depending on scheduling. Also over on that YouTube channel, Rucker's been starting to crank out those midseason highlights. They're awesome. They're really good videos. Make sure to go watch them. They're just a cheat code in catching up on these guys. We do all the film dives, so you don't have to. We take that off your plate. That's how giving we are. So you're welcome. But Rucker's been doing an awesome job putting those together, and he has so many more to come. So make sure to go check that out. Awesome work up on the site this week as well. Where there's a Miles Byrd piece. There's Rich Stamen was in person scouting for some high school stuff down in Dallas this week. Really informative. And Nathan Grubel will have a really fun G League piece coming out on Friday over at NoCeilingsNBA.com. Make sure to go check it all out. But he is Tyler Rucker. You can follow him on Blue Sky at Tyler Rucker, on Twitter at Tyler_Rucker. I'm Tyler Metcalf. I'm at TMetcalf11 on Twitter and Tyler Metcalf on Blue Sky. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. But until next time, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Festivus, Happy New Year. See you in 2025.